Terrifying elephant attack in Botswana. British and American tourists cheat dead as rampaging bull flips canoes and strikes women in Okavango Delta. Two couples from UK and the US narrowly escaped death when a furious elephant attacked their safari trip in Botswana's Okavango Delta, traditional canoes, and striking one of the women with its trunk. Now let's dig into this story together on the AI podcast.
Okay, so today we're diving deep into, well, a really chilling recent incident. It's kind of a study in risk management, isn't it?
It really is. That moment where the calculated risks you think you're taking on a trip like this just collide head-on with, well, the brutal reality of nature.
Exactly. Our sources lay out this pretty terrifying minute-by-minute encounter happen in Botswana's Okavango Delta.
Beautiful place, the Delta. But for these four tourists, it almost became, their final stop.
Yeah. So the mission for this deep dive, it feels pretty important. We need to get past just the shocking video footage that's out there.
Right. We need to actually analyze the specific errors, the chain of events that led up to this disaster.
And then put it in context.
Yeah. Place this escape, which was incredibly lucky,
Right.
into the bigger picture of, wildlife behavior, maybe human error, and what it means for tourist safety in Africa generally.
And the setting itself is key here. This happened ironically on World Tourism Day.
Wow, really?
Yeah. In the Okavango Delta's shallow waters, it was two couples, one British, one American.
And they were in those traditional dugout canoes, makoros.
That's right, Makoros, just gliding along, enjoying the quiet, I suppose, until things went wrong very, very quickly.
And that moment, that destabilization, experts who've looked at this say it wasn't just like a random attack.
No.
No. It seems to be the direct result of a serious misjudgment by the guides.
What did they do wrong?
They apparently broke a really critical, sort of unwritten rule of the Delta. You just don't take those canoes too close to a protective family unit.
And in this case?
It was a female elephant with two very young calves. That's prime territory for high alert.
When you see the footage, that proximity just jumps out at you. You can see how close they are.
Mm-hmm. The guides were pulling the canoes, sort of gondola style, they called it.
Right.
Which basically put them right inside the elephant family's, personal space, their safety bubble.
So what should they have done? What's the standard procedure if you see a mum and calves like that in the water?
Standard procedure. Immediate retreat. You keep a distance, at least 50 meters, maybe even 100, especially in water where the elephants feel more vulnerable, less mobile.
Okay.
So getting that close, it suggests maybe an issue with risk normalization. Guides do these trips hundreds of times, nothing happens.
They get complacent, push the boundaries a bit for the tourists.
Exactly. Maybe try to get that perfect shot. And in this instance, the mother clearly perceived them as a direct closing threat to her calves.
Right. But it wasn't the mother who actually attacked the canoes, was it?
No, interestingly, while she was the catalyst, the real force, the one that just destroyed the canoes, was the bull elephant, the one protecting the herd.
Okay, so the bull steps in.
Precisely. You see it in the video, charging through the reeds, the shallow water. And it's not quiet. It's loud, aggressive, trumpeting as it comes in. A clear display of dominance, of protection.
Its sheer power must be incredible.
Oh, the kinetic energy involved. It's staggering. Once an animal that size, several tons, decides to charge, any idea a guide might have of retreating at that point is just meaningless.
So the impact must have been instant, just terrifying.
Immediate. The bull just rammed both canoes with its tusks and trunk, flipped them in seconds.
Wow.
And suddenly you've got four tourists thrown into this murky, shallow water, totally disoriented.
And the guides, the sources mentioned something about them.
Yeah, the sources noted the guides appeared to, flee towards the riverbank.
Right. That sounds bad. Leaving the tourists.
It does sound horrifyingly irresponsible on one level, but, we have to ask the question.
What else could they do?
Maybe. When your canoe is destroyed and there's a charging elephant right there, is trying to gather up tourists actually feasible? Or is the trained response maybe just to get yourself out of the immediate target zone to maybe help later?
A mix of panic and maybe a grim calculation.
Could be. A stark realization that the elephant's focus is probably on the thing it just smashed.
It's complex. It's that absolute loss of control, though. Going from tourist to, potential prey. In an instant. But this is where it gets even worse. The footage shows the moment it goes from just catastrophic to nearly fatal.
Yeah, the bull pauses for a second. Seems like maybe it's done.
Yeah.
But then, no, it turns back.
For a second attack.
Exactly. It singles out one of the women tourists. She's struggling in the water trying to get her feet under her.
And then...
Bull rams her from behind with its trunk, knocks her completely under the water. The report says its tusks actually narrowly missed her in that same movement.
Unbelievable. So how did she survive that? That seems like the critical moment.
It really is.
Yeah.
And survival here seems less about skill and more about, well, sheer luck, combined with maybe one key behavior.
Which is?
She went under the murky water. And because of that, according to the analysis, the elephant momentarily lost sight of her.
It lost the visual target.
Exactly. Its threat perception maybe shifted for a second. It didn't keep searching for her aggressively. It gave up after maybe 10 seconds or so.
Just 10 seconds. That must have felt like an eternity under there.
Oh, absolutely. With the noise, the confusion, a huge creature right above you, unimaginable.
And the risk was still immense.
Totally. The former South African game ranger who looked at the footage, he stressed this. If the elephant had decided to just stamp down,
Or if the tusks had connected slightly differently.
instant death, no question. She was effectively invisible for those few critical moments. Just incredibly fortunate.
But surviving the elephant, that only gets you so far in the delta, right? There are other dangers.
That's the terrifying double danger aspect the locals pointed out. You're back in the water, and these waters are known for crocodiles and hippos.
Both incredibly dangerous to humans, responsible for many more fatalities in Africa than elephants, actually.
Far more. So why did they become a factor here? It's a layered threat.
So why weren't they attacked by a hippo or croc?
Well, the thinking is that the sheer chaos of the elephant attack, the charging, the trumpeting, the thrashing in the water, probably scared everything else away temporarily.
Ah, so the massive disturbance from the elephant might have ironically cleared the immediate area of other predators.
It seems likely. She survived the big land threat, and the commotion gave her just enough time to escape the water threats before they returned.
So the bull eventually just rejoined its herd, satisfied the threat was gone.
Apparently so. It seemed to decide the job was done. The woman surfaced, her husband helped her up, got her towards the bank.
And that ranger's quote really sums it all up.
They had a very lucky escape indeed. An almost unbelievable understatement, really.
It makes you wonder, though, was this just a one-off, a freak accident, or is it part of something bigger happening in the region?
That's the crucial question we need to pivot to. Is this an anomaly, or does it point towards maybe a worrying trend, like systemic risk normalization?
Because when you start connecting the dots, looking at other recent incidents, this doesn't seem entirely isolated, especially in the Okavango area.
No, it doesn't. The sources mention other high-tension encounters just recently.
Like the one in July.
Exactly. British tourists again, this time on a boat safari, charged by an enraged female elephant, and again, she had a calf with her.
And that elephant actually lifted the boat.
With its tusks. Lifted it, pivoted, almost capsized it before backing off. So you see the pattern, right? Protective mothers feeling encroached upon.
The power involved is just immense. Lifting a boat, smashing a macro, it's hard to even picture.
It is. And it's important here to maybe compare the charging behaviors. This bull in Botswana charged, destroyed the canoes, then retreated.
Okay.
But we know that maternal protective instinct, that could be even more sustained, more lethal.
Which brings us to that tragic incident in Zambia.
Yes, unfortunately. That provides the fatal context we have to consider. Months earlier, South Luangwa National Park in Zambia.
2 women were killed there.
Easton Taylor, 68, from the UK, and Alison Taylor, 67, from New Zealand. Killed during a walking safari. Again, charged by a protective female elephant with a calf.
And in that case, the guides actually fired warning shots, didn't they? But it didn't deter her.
No. Which raises the question, why did that mother escalate all the way to a fatal attack while the Botswana bull backed off after the initial destruction?
What's the difference?
It likely comes down to the perceived threat level and the context. The Zambian incident was a walking safari. Humans on foot, directly in her space, on her level.
More immediate, maybe.
Potentially perceived as a more direct lethal threat to the calf. When a female decides the threat is absolute, she commits fully. The Botswana bull, perhaps, executed more of a dominant warning charge, neutralize the intruding object, the canoe, but maybe not necessarily hunt down the individuals once they were disabled.
A subtle but incredibly important distinction between a warning and lethal intent.
Absolutely. And that protective instinct is just so powerful, so immediate. It often overrides things like warning shots.
It's such a stark reminder. We tend to romanticize elephants, see them as these gentle giants.
Which they can be. But they operate on physics and instinct, raw power.
And the numbers back that up. the reality check. Male elephants can be huge, up to 13 feet tall, weigh several tons.
And fast. They can run at speeds up to 25 miles per hour. That combination of size, power, speed.
Especially when they feel threatened or are defending young or their territory, which is shrinking.
Exactly. They're an endangered species, remember. Only about 415,000 left in the wild. That puts pressure on them, creates friction with human activity.
And that friction leads to tragic outcomes. The statistic that they kill an estimated 500 people globally each year, that's staggering.
It really is 500 people. It highlights just how frequent these high-stakes encounters are, often because we are fundamentally the ones encroaching on their space.
We see the 500 human deaths, which is awful, but we also need to see the pressure we put on them.
It's a conflict driven by our curiosity, our desire to explore, and their need to survive in less and less space.
And the Okavango Delta is really ground zero for this kind of interaction, isn't it?
It absolutely is. World-famous destination, draws huge numbers of tourists, 2 million a year apparently.
And high-profile visitors, too, which just adds to the allure.
Right. The appeal is obvious. But that very popularity increases the potential for these dangerous encounters, increases the stakes.
So this incident, stemming from getting too close to that family unit, it really boils down to human factors.
It seems so. An overestimation of control, perhaps. An underestimation of that powerful protective instinct. The critical failure seems to be human judgment.
So for you listening, what's the main takeaway here? It's not just nature is dangerous, is it?
No, it's deeper than that. The real lesson from piecing together these sources seems to be about, well, human confidence versus reality. About systemic risk in this kind of tourism.
The attack was almost textbook in a way. Protective instinct triggered by getting too close.
A very harsh lesson in respecting boundaries, in needing a certain humility when you're in their habitat.
Yeah. And maybe we should leave you with that quote from the Botswana resident. It really frames the precariousness of it all.
Right? He said, if the elephant didn't get them, the crocodiles or hippos could have. Someone was looking over them that day.
It perfectly captures that tightrope walk, doesn't it? Surviving one lethal threat only to face another. So the final thought for you to mull over is, what does this constant balancing act mean? Nature's lethal power on one side, our increasing desire to explore, get closer on the other.
Especially when guides are pressured, maybe implicitly, to provide those closer encounters. How does that affect safety? How do we balance wanting to see these amazing animals with the inherent risks when just a few feet can be the difference between an incredible photo
and a tragedy? Something to think about until our next deep dive.
Okay, one question for you. What specific guide misjudgments lead to potentially fatal human-wildlife encounters in Botswana? Don't forget to comment it. Thanks.